what worries me about the Brooklyn Nets going into a 5 or 7 game series against a better team is they don't have the defense to compete with the better offensive teams. Now, Ben Simmons is not playing in the first round. It seems like he's not.
They said at the earliest he'd come back in game 4, so we'll see.
If he does come back in that series, listen, if they could get through Boston, I think the Nets could absolutely make the finals, because you get Ben Simmons back. If you're matched up against Milwaukee, which you'll probably be matched up against Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, because they would play Miami in the second round. The Nets would have a long way all the way to.
It'd be really hard.
It's going to be really, really hard. They would have to go through Boston, then Miami, then Milwaukee. Okay, if all these teams actually play to their expectations, so that's going to be a hard route. So they're going to need Ben Simmons in the second round, and they're going to need Ben Simmons in the third round against Milwaukee if they play Milwaukee. They need to take pressure off of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant cannot defend the best player on the other teams. And usually the other player is 6'8", 6'9", or 7 foot. Now, Kevin Durant is not known for his defense. He is a decent defensive player, but He's not known for his defense. He's known for his offense. And against Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals, he was worn out last year. He was, yes, you're going to say, well, he got that team to Game 7. That's great. They made that trade for Ben Simmons for Milwaukee. Because Milwaukee, you get Ben Simmons on the Greek Freak. I think Ben Simmons could definitely handle the Freak. Now, I don't know if he'll stop him, but he'll be able to contain him. And if you can contain him to 22 to 23 points a game, you can win. But the Brooklyn Nets, they have to get through Boston first. And the Boston Celtics, they, obviously Williams is hurt right now. He should be back for the playoffs. This team is stacked. They're a very good team. They're good defensively minded team. They're very well taught and coached by their new coach, who obviously Jeff thinks is going to be coach of the year.
Naturally.
But I think the Nets could get over the hump against Boston.
It'll be interesting if Ben Simmons does end up coming back in this series, because
I don't think he will.
I don't know if he will either, but regardless, if he does come back for a Game 5, I guess you could say, or Game 4 target date, they still will have to win 2 games in Boston, and that's going to be the biggest key. Now, the Nets do have the scoring prowess that the Celtics, if one of Tatum or Brown is off, might have the advantage in that case. We know Tatum has been a good playoff player in his career so far. Jaylen Brown's been kind of up and down for the Celtics.
Horrible.
Yeah. So, again, the Nets might have that advantage if they are somehow able to play good team defense on one of them. And it'd also be a good test for this new coach, too, Udoka, with this defensive system that's been very good carried over from Brad Stevens, because the Celtics have better depth with their defensive players, not as much with their offensive players. Peyton Pritchard's a solid shooter off the bench, and they have Aaron Nesmith as a nice young player, but it's not big names that are going to be like 6-man-a-year type guys. So the Nets, if they could get that scoring prowess going and somebody else is off, could steal a game in Boston. I think I wouldn't say the Nets have the advantage to win the series, but I do think this will be a closer first round matchup in comparison to the other top 3 seeds. I think Milwaukee.
I say the Brooklyn Nets knock off the Boston Celtics.
They could if Ben Simmons comes back, because I think if he comes back,
even without Ben Simmons,
if he comes back and is able to defend one of them well, then they could use the depth to their advantage a little more. Now, young players, you never know who's going to break out at any given time. I always say inexperience is not necessarily negative experience. I would say with the Celtics' young core, especially if they get Williams back, it'll be a lot of first time for them too, but it'll also be a lot of first time for this Nets team that's mostly young players off the bench now too, and the players they got in the James Harden trade. So judge that accordingly. We've seen Seth Curry be a good playoff player in the past, which could give an advantage to the Nets as well.
Boston versus the Nets is going to be an interesting series. It really is. I expect it to be fun to watch. I think all these series should be matched up very well. I think Miami is definitely the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
But watch out for Milwaukee, because I do still think Milwaukee, they're a championship team. They've always been a championship team. And every year, for some reason, their games just pick up in the playoffs.
Yeah, they've been this team too, second half team. They were, I think, a 5 seed at the All-Star break, and they've picked it up to now that they're a 3 seed. It'll be interesting though if they face Miami again, because we've seen the tale of like 2 revenge. Miami owned them in the bubble, and then Milwaukee got their revenge last year. So if they play again, it's going to be interesting.
My bets would be on Miami.
Me too, because I feel like there's going to be just this back and forth revenge factor, and they've overcame injuries so well this year too.
And Miami has a lot of depth. Their bench is good. Oladipo's back. I mean, this is a good team. And Jimmy Butler already came out and said, and I said it on the Sports Loudmouths, there are stories coming out that if Miami is not a championship-bound team this year, he might want out of Miami, which is not very good to hear. When it might be good for the Knicks because, I mean, I don't know if Miami would trade with the Knicks, but
Pat Riley trading with the Knicks.
I don't think that would happen. But I know Jimmy Butler wanted to be a Knick, at one point, and maybe he wants to go to another team and win with another team. But Miami has their best chance we've seen since really LeBron James's era over there with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. So hopefully we see a dominance of where this team thought they were going to be as the season progressed. It irks me the way NBA fans talk about Chris Paul. Okay? Everybody looks at Chris Paul as a second-hand point guard. They don't realize that Chris Paul has been the best point guard in the NBA for the last 10 years, 12 years. I remember when people were trying to compare Darren Williams to Chris Paul.
And the Darren Williams just got lost with the Nets.
I remember that. Now, over the last couple of years, we hear, Steph Curry's the best point guard in the NBA. Steph Curry has never been the best point guard in the NBA. Okay? He might be the best shooter in the NBA or three-point shooter in the NBA. No question. You can't even argue that. But to even put him in the same realm as Chris Paul, it's ridiculous. Everywhere Chris Paul has been and Chris Paul has played, he has taken that team to higher heights. Speedy, you've brought up the numbers. You have the numbers. You heard something. Why don't you tell the fans on what makes Chris Paul so special?
So Chris Paul has the franchise record now of 4 different teams for franchise wins. The Hornets, where he started with, got drafted. The Clippers, the Rockets, and now the Phoenix Suns. All 4 of those teams have their single season, 60-plus win seasons because of Chris Paul. Franchise history.
Golden State, okay, has Steph Curry without Klay Thompson or Draymond Green or Kevin Durant ever taken his team to those high heights? And don't say this year, because Steph Curry was hurt at a significant amount of time this year, and Steph Curry has not been the same player he has been over the last couple of years. And Steph Curry last year, when he didn't have Klay Thompson, didn't have Kevin Durant, and barely had Draymond Green, he couldn't do it. They didn't even make the main playoffs, okay? So please, and Phoenix, you're going to say, well, Phoenix had a bunch of young players, and before Chris Paul was there, they were, 14th worst team in the NBA?
Yeah, they were a bubble team that barely made it to that play-in tournament initially, and they didn't get to the playoffs.
They're a completely different team with Chris Paul, okay? Chris Paul, when he went to OKC, was a completely different team over there when he was at OKC for the year that he was there, when he was traded for Russell Westbrook. By the way, Houston made a big mistake doing that. Okay? It's hilarious. It really is. Now to say, do I think Chris Paul is one of the top 3, top 4 point guards in NBA history? No. Top 5? Yes. Top 3, top 4? No. Do I think Steph Curry's in the top 5? No. Not even close. Okay? And I'm tired of hearing it from all you fans out there that love Steph Curry, that want to kiss his ass. He is not one of the best point guards of all time. And to say that he is, it's a joke. And it's I understand you're a fan of his. You love his shimmy. You love his stupidity on the court, his three-point prowess. Oh, my God, best shooter I've ever seen. He probably is. He is not the best point guard in the NBA. He has never been the best point guard in the NBA. Not as long as this man has been in the NBA, okay? And that's a fact. And I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear the comparisons to anybody that's going to come to me on social media. Go on in my emails and send me emails that I hate Steph Curry, and that's why I can't give him the respect. I don't hate Steph Curry. I think he's overrated. I think he's an overrated point guard. That's it. So I don't want to hear it anymore. That's the facts, okay? And I don't want to see or hear anything, because I'm going to tell you this right now. Golden State going into the playoffs, do I think they're going to win a championship? No. Do I think they're going to knock off Phoenix if they play Phoenix in the playoffs? No. They don't have the depth. And if they're going to depend on Steph Curry, which, by the way, missed a significant amount of time because he hurt his finger or his wrist.
Yeah, he's still not going to be coming back 100% even if he does.
They have not a chance to beat the Phoenix Suns. I think the Phoenix Suns are going to go to the NBA Finals again this year, and I'm telling you right now, with that depth, if they can stay healthy and Chris Paul is 100% healthy, they win the whole thing. They're going to win the whole thing. And I think they're going to win it with ease. I don't think Miami's going to beat them. I don't think Milwaukee's going to beat them. I don't think the Celtics could beat them. I don't think Phoenix could beat them. Phoenix. I don't think Philadelphia could beat them. The only team that something tells me if they can compete with them, if somehow Brooklyn gets the finals with Ben Simmons.
Wow, you think they can beat the Suns?
I think they can match up against the Suns because of their size. The problem with Phoenix this year was their size. They have a size problem. They have DeAndre Ayton. They have some bigger, guards. But their middle, their front three, they're not big team. They don't have a big bench. They're not that big. They're fast and very good defensively sound by Monty Williams. But with the size that the Nets will have, if they get Ben Simmons back, I think Ben Simmons would be an absolute great thing for the Brooklyn Nets. If somehow the Brooklyn Nets get to the final, I don't think they will. They got to get through a huge amount of, expectations. They got to go from the Celtics to Miami to Milwaukee and then play Phoenix. That would be one of the greatest runs we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
It would be fantastic. And probably it would mark Kevin Durant as one of the great basketball players of this era, if he does that. So that's all I can say about that. As far as the NFL is concerned, I know all the New York teams are sitting here waiting for this draft. I think if you're a Jet fan, you're happy for what the Jets have done this offseason. You're not happy for how strong the AFC has gotten. The AFC is a powerhouse division, conference now. You look how good the Chargers have gotten. You've looked how good Las Vegas has gotten. You look how good the Broncos have gotten. Baltimore, even Pittsburgh has gotten better. The Browns with Deshaun Watson. Buffalo has gotten weaker. I really do believe that. I don't think they're as strong as they have been, even though I still think they're the best team in that division. And New England hasn't gotten better. They're pretty much where they are. But they were a good team last year. Miami's gotten better. The AFC has become a powerhouse. And that's what scares me as a Jet fan, because even though the Jets are probably not going to have to play that division this year, I don't think they're matched up against that division this year.
No, they're AFC North. They got to play, though.
Yeah, but
that's still hard.
They're going to have to see those teams and those quarterbacks one way or another. And Zach Wilson's going to need to explode right off, the sheets this year. I think he's going to really have to show people why the Jets made that move and decided to trade Sam Darnold, which wasn't a mistake. We all know that now. But Zach Wilson's going to have to take 2 steps forward. But they need a wide receiver. It is definitely a weakness that they have. They've been looking for one. They went after Tyreek Hill. There were stories coming out that they were interested in Devontae Adams. Maybe they go after Michael Thomas. I mean, he is available. I'm surprised that you haven't heard Michael Thomas's name, but I don't know if the Jets want to take a chance with Michael Thomas.
It's more, he's in a predicament like Deshaun Watson was, because not that he had the off-field issues, but he hasn't played in a while, so that's going to hurt his value for what the Saints are trying to push to trade him for.
So I don't know if they go after him. Deebo Samuels is a name. He's a very good fit for the New York Jets. Mike LaFleur coached him as a wide receiver coach over there in San Francisco. Robert Saleh knows him very well. I think they would love to get Debo over there.